For this class, I've asked you to engage in a research project, but because this is a College Writing 1 class, usually the first that required a prerequisite to College Writing 2, and because if we're going to divide it up in that way, from a Part 1 class and a Part 2 class for the whole thing, I did not design this class to actually bring us all the way to the completion of the research project in the sense of you actually turn in a completed paper. Alright, so there were other things in this class that I wanted to teach, like the ability to draw out a pattern from a particular instance, analysis, item analysis, class analysis or generic analysis, the types of critiques that you'll need to write, how to write a good summary, citation, documentation mechanics, things like that. And I knew the time I would have, I would not really be able to teach the whole research paper adequately and properly. So what I wanted to do was really instill in you an understanding, or at least an appreciation, for the amount of reading that has to go in first to a research project, and then how to develop a thesis that is truly original to you. So it's making a thesis as that one statement that originates from you, that's making a claim or an observation that you believe you can support from the data you've gathered, that no one else has made just that claim or observation, that thesis, just like you're going to make it. It doesn't have to be radically new or groundbreaking, but it does have to be an aspect or an emphasis or a suggestion or an application or some information that no one else has done exactly that way. All right, so that you have to have that original element in it. And then I'm going to ask you to think of how you would go about to support this to a room of say 100 people. You'll never have to do this, but this is a thought experiment, all right, that would allow you to see if you actually do have a good thesis on an academic level that has professional viability. And in other words, it might work even outside the classroom, not as a classroom assignment, but actually as a professional piece of writing, because it is contributing something new and well and decently established into the community of published material out there. So let's think in that terms. Let's just theorize and pretend we're going that route. So you have your thesis, or you should be developing your thesis about your topic. If you were to stand up in front of a room of 100 well-educated, let's say college graduates, let's see, 30 to 40-something-year-old independent adults, they're professionals, they have careers, they're well-read, they keep their eyes open in the culture, they've been in America for a while, they know a lot, they're smart people, as many people are. And if you were just to tell them, and remember, they haven't done your reading, okay? They haven't done your thinking on the topic. If you were just to articulate your thesis, would they, how many, and then you asked them at the end, do you believe this or not? How many of them do you think would raise their hand? Now, if you're getting 80 or 90 raising their hand after they just heard your thesis, then your thesis is not research worthy, because it's a given almost. They already believe that. For example, if I were to stand in front of this room and say, you know, I've read a lot and I've reached the conclusion, and I know I can support it, that the current 20 to 40-year-old American enjoys Hollywood movies. Now, when we say current, we're saying like 90% of American adults enjoy a good movie. They enjoy the screen mediation of entertainment. You know, do you need research for that? That's just common sense. That's anyone is going to be willing to give you that thesis. They already believe it. Now, here's another one. I actually did get this. Okay. Parents of a deaf child. If neither of them, the parents or the child, does not know American Sign Language or any sign language, the parents will have trouble communicating with the child. That was the thesis. And I'm thinking, no, this cannot be the thesis, because it is way too obvious. Way too obvious. Now here's another one, okay? The way a person is raised and educated will influence that person's political leanings. Again, that's just common sense. That's self-evident. That can't be a thesis. Now you need to be much more specific and complicated. Now, if you want to go that route about the political thing, maybe say most families with strong GOP leanings make over $75,000 a year. Now, by the way, I just made that up right now. I have no idea. But if you had the data to back that up, that would be something that's not obvious or self-evident right off the bat. And it might give some information as far as what the family wealth, annual wealth level does to influence the family's political leanings. And yeah, I don't know, but see, that's a lot more specific than just saying the way a person is raised and educated influences that person's political leanings. It's that thesis is too vague, too general, too. So look, making a good thesis is very hard to do. And if you, in this class, learn how to make a good thesis, how to show that it's original to you, two things here, okay? And then you can produce a working bibliography of sources that have written on something on this topic, but not necessarily on your thesis, but you think these are important sources to know if you're going to research this topic. And if you know how to do that, and then fourthly, if you know how to come up with a list of steps that you would take if you were to be given, say an hour of somebody's time, and they heard your thesis, and then you were to tell this person, now look, let me explain and clarify my thesis and give you the data so that although you understand my thesis right now, by the time I finish with you in 30 minutes, you will not only understand how my thesis is possible, but it's reasonable, and it's even probable. And you might even end up believing it yourself. But let me walk you through the steps that I think you need to go through in order so that you get to the point at the end where you think it's possible and it's even reasonable and maybe even probable. Okay, the first step you need to know is this. And then if you really want to get down all the way to believing my thesis as I do, the second thing you need to know is this. And the third thing you need to know is this. And can you develop a list of steps? And you don't have to actually write all the steps. I mean, write everything out, but can you at least write the steps out of where you think someone who doesn't know much at all about your topic, the steps they need to go to in order for them to eventually reach an understanding of your thesis? That's what I want you to do in the last part of this class, okay? College Writing 1. I want you to be able to articulate a thesis that's actually original to you and professionally viable. I want you to be able to come up with a working bibliography of major sources. I want you to be able to show that you know the steps a person needs to take in order to believe this thesis.